It's not just about the tools, because you cannot build an AI-powered business on top of fear-based and rigid or outdated culture. People that are still so afraid of technology, and they don't want to interact with these tools. They think, oh, this is something for the IT department. If that is not challenged, if that is not solved, no amount of technology will make it successful as a business. What comes to mind when you hear the word artificial intelligence? Hello? Are we still here? What comes to mind when you hear the word artificial intelligence? Anybody can answer. Intelligence, great. What else? The future of decisions. Purchasing decision. What else? Efficiency, great. Hello? Terminator, I love that. I love that. Anything else? What comes to mind? Risk? Opportunities. Excellent. Anyone, the people on this side, did you have coffee this morning? Yes, let's try. What comes to mind when you hear the word artificial intelligence? Domination, great. Taking over, great. I love that. You know, these are well-balanced answers. And the reason is I ask is because your perception of AI affects your relationship with AI. So if you have a negative perception of artificial intelligence, it is going to impact how you relate with it. And Deepak Chopra said, every time you are tempted to react in the same old way, ask if you want to be a prisoner of the past or a pioneer of the future. You know, when they put this photo, I was like, didn't you guys find a better photo? You know, as I have been introduced, and she got my name right. You know, most people, for some reason, they do Vicky Nerd. And I'm like, really? So she got my name right. My name is Nicky. I am the author of the book titled Disrupt Yourself or Be Disrupted. Has anyone read my book in the house? Or has anyone heard about me before today? Wow, okay, someone heard about me. This is a big crowd, no one. My friends been lying to me. They told me I was very famous. Oh, wow, you know, a month or two ago, I was somewhere on West Street in Santon. I'd just come out of the train with a friend, and I just told them, you know what, I want to take a photo. But anyway, I posted it, and someone said, Nicky, I think they should have you as a brand ambassador. All right? Jokingly, before all of this ever happened, and I laughed about it. I'm like, now that I'm looking at this photo, you're right. Alex Forbes is so positioned, you would really think I was branding for them. And then a few weeks later, I got a call. I was actually at a conference in Santon Convention Center. My session was about to start, and I got a call, and like, Nicky, is this a good time to talk? I was like, yeah, I have a session starting in 10 minutes, but I can talk. It's like, Alex Forbes is looking for someone. I was like, what? Alex Forbes? So yeah, that is the long story short. So I'm so happy to be here, and thank you guys for trusting me to be part of this amazing conference. And so we're looking forward to having a great conversation. For those who have not heard about me or know anything about me, I think you are living under a rock. I'm a big deal, seriously. Just kidding. But however, if you were to ever be asked again, after today, do you know Nicky? You'll be like, oh, yeah. I know her. I've listened to her talk. So I'm very passionate about bridging the gap between people and technology. That's really what I call my mission, because there's a lot of conversation around disruption, artificial intelligence, but somehow it's almost like the tech is on one side and the people are on the other side, and there's this huge gap in the middle. And so my work is to close this gap so that people can get comfortable with the idea of technology. Because for many people, they think that these conversations or these talks around AI or disruption is something for the IT department. It's something for the tech expert. Someone said I was a tech guru. I was like, no. You know, we're all learning. No one is a guru on this. No one is an expert on this. This technology is still very much at its infancy, and we are learning as we go. And so today we are going to be looking at how to thrive in the age of intelligent disruption. Disruption has always happened, but what we're experiencing in this age and time is intelligent disruption, right? So we'll be looking at how we can align people, culture, skills, innovation for digital and the mindset for digital transformation, because these are critical things that have to go hand in hand for a successful digital transformation. And what we are seeing is not just a disruption that is happening, say, under in the finance sector or in retail or in transportation. This is global disruption that is affecting everyone. Whether you ask for it or not, you're being affected by this disruption. It's no longer business as usual. The call to disrupt the status quo has never been more louder. Is that true? Can anyone agree with me on that? Maintaining the status quo in this age and time is a recipe for disaster. And disruption used to be something that happened to someone, somewhere else, or a particular industry, or a particular organization. But like I said, this is global disruption that is affecting everyone. So whether you are in the finance sector, or you are in agriculture, or you are in retail, you are being impacted by the disruption that we are seeing. It's affecting everyone all at once. And what used to take decades to disrupt an industry now takes a few lines of code, a new app, or a shift in customer expectations. If we can all take, for example, ChatGPT. Anyone use ChatGPT in the house? Great. One application that came into the market about 2 years ago completely disrupted the marketplace. The level of disruption we are seeing with artificial intelligence used to take decades before the market could experience that. But we are seeing it now with the launch of one application, and things completely changes. So again, like I said, whether you are in finance or healthcare, you cannot escape the disruption that is currently happening. And this was the case for me. I will briefly tell you guys my story of how I came to do what I do today. Again, the title of my book is Disrupt Yourself or Be Disrupted. And I tell people there is no neutral ground. Whether by circumstances or by deliberate choice, your life will be disrupted. I was still very much in the corporate world when one day I went to work and my boss called me in for what I thought was a meeting for me to bring him up to speed with what has been happening. But by the end of that meeting, I was jobless. He told me there's been some restructuring happening, and there's no better way to tell me than to let me know my role is no longer needed. I was like, huh? Those words hit me like a truck on high speed. And by the way, many times when I share this story, people start getting anxious. Oh, is our organization about to lay us off? Why did they bring her here to share this story? Relax, okay? You're still safe for now. So, to say that day and the weeks and the months that followed were some of the most difficult time of my life would be an understatement, because I did not anticipate retrenchment. My boss used to tell me plans 5 years ahead of time. We will do this, we will do this, we will expand. And in a moment, it was all gone. And so, when you have a car, you start seeing that particular mark of car everywhere. Everyone ever seen that? Anyone ever seen that, have that experience? So in my case, because I'd been retrenched, I will hear news about retrenchment more often than I normally would. If I turn on the TV, I turn on the radio, I will hear news about retrenchment. And so because I was hearing a lot about it, I started thinking to myself, oh, so I guess this did not happen just to me. And so I started asking the questions, how do organizations continue to thrive when they let go so many people? At that time, there was news about an organization that was laying off about 2,500 employees. I think it was a call center in the space of 2 to 3 years. And I'm thinking to myself, how do they survive, or how will they survive if they let go this many people? So my curiosity drove me to, and I remember vividly typing the question on Google, how do organizations continue to thrive when they let go so many people? And that question led me to the belly of the internet, and for the first time, I came across concepts like automation, artificial intelligence, and it blew my mind. And I thought, oh, there was a whole new world out here that I didn't even know existed. Prior to me being retrenched, the only technology that I knew would be to sit on my laptop, work, send emails, answer phone calls. There was nothing beyond that, and I didn't care to know. But now I'm out here finding these informations about artificial intelligence, and the first thought in my mind was, this intelligence called artificial? Wow, it blew my mind. This was in 2016, by the way. And I became very curious, and I started writing about this. as a way of escape, in a way. I didn't think anything would come of it, so I was writing about it on social media. And then people would ask me questions around tech and innovation as though I was an expert. And I would laugh. I'm like, even though you guys knew, I'm as clueless as you. And so, because a lot of people were intrigued about it, I would go back and do more research. And also, I just wanted to know how my boss was coping without me, right? To be honest, I'm like, it used to seem like he couldn't function without me, and suddenly he just kicked me. I'm like, I need to know. So I realized, oh, okay, processes that used to be done by humans can now be done by software, can now be done by machines. And so at some point, I thought someone should write a book about this, but I didn't think that someone would be me, because I used to think that you need to be really smart to write a book. But it turned out it's not the case. You know, there are friends of mine that went to high school, and when they're surprised that I wrote a book, I'm like, listen, I'm surprised more than all of you that I wrote a book. I still get to pinch myself, like, did I really do this? So I tell people, if I could do this, anybody can do this. And so I wanted to write the book to talk about perhaps questions that if I was asking myself, I would have been more prepared for the disruption that my life had faced. I wanted people to be able to ask uncomfortable questions. And again, I thought, what better title for the book than Disrupt Yourself or Be Disrupted? Because I wanted people to ask, will I still be relevant in the next 3 to 5 years, right? Or how is technology changing my particular industry? How can I leverage new technologies to remain relevant? What skills do I need to develop so that I can complement artificial intelligence? How can I use AI to solve existing problems or create new solutions in my field? These are questions that I wanted people to start asking. And if you're a parent, you ask, how do I raise my kids differently? You know, because the world is changing. And for people that would think, I don't think I can be replaced by a machine, well, think again. Because no industry is safe from AI disruption. These are questions that when you ask, they force you to think outside the box. They force you to do something different. And there are also, of course, wrong questions to ask, right? And a lot of questions, those wrong questions that I hear people asking is like, will AI steal my job? The answer is yes, and then? So this is the wrong question to ask. Will AI take over everything? Well, in a way. How can I stop technological advancement? These are questions that don't empower you. These questions, they foster a sense of doom rather than exploring how you can adapt and leverage artificial intelligence. So if there's one thing that ChatGPT has taught us, it is that questions matters. If you give these tools the wrong questions, of course, it gives you a very convincingly wrong answer. So much so that if you lack critical thinking, you will run with it thinking this is the right answer. So when you ask the right questions around artificial intelligence or around the times in which we are living, you will be able to get the right answer based if in the beginning you actually ask the right question. And I talk about intelligent disruption, and there is a difference between traditional disruption and intelligent disruption. Like I mentioned earlier, right? Traditional disruption often comes from market dynamics caused by new entrants to challenge those that have been in the market. And a very good example that we can think of is Blockbuster versus Netflix. But these were disruptions that affected a particular organization or, say, a particular industry, right? But when you look more, again, looking at digital disruption, it's the transformation of traditional industries through the integration of digital technologies, changing how value is being created and delivered in the marketplace. You think of Uber today, you can get a taxi just by, punching your mobile phone, but that in the past, that did not happen. And these disruptions that happen in this traditional sense of disruption took decades for the market to adjust. But when you're talking of intelligent disruption, you're talking about something that you can go to bed tonight and wake up in the morning, and there has been a new app launched in the market that is completely disrupting the marketplace, and there has to be a board meeting, like, can we meet at 2 p.m. today? That is what has been happening. Am I right? So that is intelligent disruption. And Alex Forbes has been in the market for 90 years. This is an amazing work. There are businesses that don't last 5 years in the market. Am I right? Some don't make it to 10 years. So this has been a great success. In fact, everyone in the room, put your hands together and congratulate yourself for going this far in business. Well done. Well done. A business that has been around for 90 years. This shows that you have survived so many revolutions. You have survived so many disruptions. And if you have survived those in the past, there is a chance that you will survive what is coming and what is already here. And so, but the reality is that what got you here will not get you there, because the world is changing so fast, and the pace of change is exponential. What got you to 90 may not take you to 100. It may not take you to the next 90. So relying only on what had gotten you here is a recipe for disaster. 90 years has been 90 years of excellence. It's a legacy built on trust, expertise, and proven financial solutions. And now is the time to honor, but still, honor the past, but design for the future intentionally. Because clinging to old methods is the fastest way to become irrelevant in the age of disruption. The strategies that build the businesses, it won't sustain it. The strategy that brought Alex Forbes to 90, there is no guarantee that it will sustain it to the future or to the next decade or to the next 20, 30 years. Adaptability, innovation is needed. The courage to imagine how value is delivered in a world that wants things like this. We want to put popcorn in the microwave, and before it's finished, processes should be ready. That is how consumer demand is changing. We want to touch a button and pizza is at the door. Nobody want to go stand queues at the bank anymore. The next question I asked him was, when was the last time you've been to a bank? He said he does most of his financial transactions from his computer. He doesn't really need to go to the bank unless it is really necessary. So I was like, how then you're telling us this is not for Africa? Because this is how you desire things to be done. So the market is forced to adjust to that desire that you have. If you don't want to go stand queues in the branch, the bank has to adjust to meet you where you are, and this is what is happening. So we cannot sit back and say, oh, this is not for Africa, or this is not for our business. This is what the consumers want. They want things done like that. And when you take that into consideration, then you realize that you have work. There is work to be done. And there is a saying in the business world, maybe in the past, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But this used to be true in the past. Leave it as it is. If any business is adopting this type of mindset now, they are going to be left behind. Because in the age of intelligent disruption, proactive reinvention is your insurance policy. It is best to fix it before it gets broken. Fix what's working now while it is still working so that it keeps on working. Don't wait for it to be broken. Because organizations sometimes delay transformation, even individuals delay transformation until it is too late. Why? Because it's still working. What used to work still kind of works, but it is time for you to break things on your own so that it can survive the disruption that is coming or the disruption that is already here. Don't wait for it to be broken. We all know the story of Nokia, right? Anyone know Nokia in the house? Hello, I can't be the only old person in here. Thank you. We all know about Nokia, right? I remember being somewhere and my phone died, and there was nobody in that room with an Android charger for me to charge my phone. I was the only person with an Android phone. So back in the day, having a Nokia phone was like having an iPhone now. They were the king of the cell phone market. This Forbes magazine, as you can see, the CEO of Nokia at the time was at the cover of the magazine. This was in 2007, with the tagline, 1 billion customers who can catch the cell phone king. What a day, right? And there were a couple of these businesses that are no longer in existence today. BlackBerry as well, Kodak. You know, for the CEO to be that bold, they knew that they were dominating the market. Who can catch the cell phone king? Less than 2 decades ago. But today, the Gen Zs don't know what a Nokia phone is. When you talk about a Nokia, like, what is that? They will literally have to go and Google. But this was the Apple or the iPhone back in the day. But they didn't innovate on time. They didn't react fast enough on time. as big as they were, market domination globally. Anybody remember the Nokia 3310? Please don't be shy. I can't be the only old person in here. The Nokia 3310. Yes, that was the phone. But they did not adjust fast enough. It didn't mean that they lacked the resources. They had the resources. Nokia was a wealthy company. They had the money, they had the talent, they had everything. So it wasn't lack of resources that kicked them out of the market. In the same 2007 was the same year the first iPhone was launched. But they were bragging about being the cell phone king and who can catch the cell phone king. Of course, at the time, Apple was still new in the market. So they were looking at it like, there's no way you can compete with us. So the same year they did this was the same year in which Apple iPhone was launched in the market. But they did not adjust fast enough. So no brand is too big to fail. So I say that to say no brand is too big to fail. No industry is too stable to be shaken. And no job is too sacred to be replaced. Yes, Alex Forbes has been in the market for 90 years. Maybe your tagline would be who can catch the financial king or the retirement fund king, somewhere along those lines. There could be some youngster building a system in their mother's basement somewhere that could disrupt your industry. You have that awareness, you wake up. Nobody is too big to fail. Success can create comfort, and comfort breeds complacency. We'll talk more about complacency as we go along. But this is what killed Nokia. They became too successful, too complacent. And they were like, we're good, we're fine. So the longer a company has been in the market, the greater the risk of being disrupted by those with nothing to lose but everything to prove. The earlier any big company sits up and starts looking, what do we need to change? What do we need to break now so that we can survive the disruption, the better? Because innovation isn't just about improving what works, but also about anticipating what's coming next. Had it been Nokia had anticipated, perhaps they would still be in the market now. But they failed in anticipating where the market was shifting, where the world was going. They failed in that. Like I already mentioned, it wasn't about lack of resources. They had everything, but lacked innovation. And so innovation is a mindset. When we talk of innovation, a lot of organizations start thinking of, how much money do we need? There are some problems that money cannot solve. Am I right? There are some problems that money cannot solve. Innovation is a mindset. You can have the biggest budget, but if you don't have big mindsets, people that think innovation, people that want to try things, if you don't have that, no amount of money will save you. No amount of success will save you. And so the future belongs to innovative thinkers, not degree holders. There are people with all the certifications, but when it comes to innovation, they are lacking. And if you can see, it intertwines. Personal innovation, corporate innovation, social innovation, eco-innovation, all of this is part of innovation. If you have people that don't take their own personal innovation seriously, your team is lacking. How do you win when people rely more on certification than actual innovation? A lot of people stack certificates like trophies, right? But when you really look deep in, there's really nothing else they're bringing to the table other than these certifications. And nothing wrong with certifications, but we need to start asking questions. The education system itself is still behind. It's struggling to catch up with where the world is going. So if you rely too much on an institution that is failing, and you expect them to train you for the world that is coming, you are failing. So sometimes a 6-month course can be better than a 4-year degree. Because by the time you sign in for a 4-year degree today, and 4 years to come, the world would have moved on. Your degree might have become obsolete before you even finish it. So innovation is more about a mindset other than a degree. I've heard of organizations that cannot promote someone, even though they are great at what they do, but they won't promote them because they don't have a particular degree. And I'm like, this is a sinking organization. So innovation is a mindset. It's not certificates, it is not big budget, it is none of those things. And innovation can come from anywhere, at any time, and in any form, and in any shape. Again, some organizations, we have a team, an innovation team. The responsibility of innovation in this company belongs to these 5 people, or belongs to these, few individuals. That is a wrong approach. Innovation can come from anywhere at any time. So encourage your team, encourage the entire organization to bring forth their best ideas, even from someone who is a cleaner. They can have an idea that will help sustain the organization. Human beings are great at innovation, not just a particular few, not just a few team members put together, not just a particular department. So be open to ideas that come from people that you normally would not expect that to come from. Have that open mindset and let your people be open to share these ideas. Innovation at its core is about making things easier and cheaper. I remember being at an event in Pretoria, and I couldn't get into the building because they required my ID card, and I had forgotten it, but I had the digital one on my phone. So I was negotiating with the reception. I was like, I don't have the physical copy with me, but I have the digital copy. And I showed her. But she insisted, you can't get in without a physical copy. You will have to call the people that invited you to come all the way to the gate and pick you in, something like that. And behind the reception where she was sitting was boldly written, driving change through innovation or something, but the word innovation caught my attention. And I started discussing with her, and I told her, what's the point of innovation if you cannot let me get in without a physical ID? Isn't innovation about making processes easier and cheaper and all of that? And then she started laughing and she told me, Nikki, I understand what you're saying, but orders come from the top. So all the way from the top, they're given an order. No one gets in here without a physical ID. Again, it's about leadership at the top, not understanding what is happening in the ground, and keeping a culture that is no longer relevant when the times are changing and so many things can be done on your phone. But I digress. And so if we're going to talk about innovation, we have to talk about creating an atmosphere, an environment where innovation can thrive. Because there are people with great ideas, but they are so afraid to bring those ideas forward. What if I fail? Or what if I'm being laughed at? Or what if? All of these what ifs stifles innovation. So as leaders, create a safe environment for your people to try things. Don't throw people in the bin when they make a mistake, right? Because no one can truly innovate or create something meaningful without making mistakes. No one. And don't make failure a bad word. That when people fail, they just want to call in sick. Sorry, I can't come to work today. It should be okay to fail. No, it's okay. You tried. So if you demonize the word failure, then people are not able to have out-of-the-box thinking. They're not able to experiment. They're not able to try things. So create that environment where people find it easy to innovate. And as leaders, think beyond tradition again. There's no room for tradition today. Tradition can be a strength, of course, but it can also become a trap. As it has always been, so shall it always be. No, it cannot work in this world, age and time. Because in a world that is moving at this exponential rate, relying solely on how things have always been done cannot take you forward. It cannot move you to the next big thing. So you need to challenge inherited assumptions or whatever it is that is keeping you in that box of tradition. And digital transformation, of course, I'm quickly going to go through this slide, but it's basically about people, processes, products, and culture. Digital transformation has to involve these 4 elements. If we go in only on the processes and forget the people, it won't work. If we go only on the products and forget the culture, it won't work. So for digital transformation to be successful, it has to have these 4 elements. And statistics shows that 70% of digital transformation fails. And there's another study that shows up to $2.3 trillion is wasted globally in failed digital transformation initiatives. So much money being wasted because the right approach is not being taken. And so why does it fail? Well, culture eats strategy for breakfast, but somehow AI is eating both of them at this point. But that's a story for another day. So you can roll out the best technology, but if the people behind, or if the people are not prepared for this, it will not work. Change fails when culture stays the same. So the two has to work hand in hand. And there's also leadership misalignment, right? Many executives say they want digital transformation or they prioritize it, but again, others come from the top. Nobody gets into the building without a physical ID. That's misalignment. Saying one thing and doing the other thing, and maintaining tradition simply because this is how it has always been done. And most transformation focus on tools, not talent. Again, speaks to the people aspects of this. And people don't resist change. Normally, people resist unclear or forced or meaningless change. Change that they don't understand. How is this going to impact me as a person? You know, what's in it for me? If the people do not understand that aspect, then it seems they tend to resist change. Many organizations, they dive in tech first, you know. They think of your big data, your AI, your cloud technology, and all of this. This is what we want. Digital transformation, okay, let's get all in, but thinking only about the tools and the technology itself. But this is an approach that normally it does not work. You're thinking of, oh, maybe we need a new website, we need a new app, we need all of these. These are necessary, of course, to align with where the world is going, so that you can simplify processes for your clients. Everyone don't have to come to the branch. They don't have to visit a physical branch to get certain things done. If things can be done on the website, online, why not do that? But keep in mind, when you go in technology first, you are leaving the people behind. There has to be an approach that involves a people's first approach, because that's where resistance comes in, when the people don't understand what is happening. So a people's first approach means that first you gather your troops. You let them know what is happening. The people on the ground are the ones who are going to have to deal with this change. So prepare them for it so that they don't have to resist digital transformation. Bring them into the transition early on. Sometimes you see tools, say for example, customer service, and a tool is being built for customer service or being automated, and no one in customer service was consulted. And sometimes the tools are built entirely out of the country with no context to whatever is happening in South Africa at all. That is the misalignment and some of the problems that causes digital transformation to fail. Someone will sit at the top who has never dealt with the customer one day in their life, and they build these tools and throw it at customer service, and everyone is confused. How do we do this? How do we function with this? So it is important that culture is taken seriously when designing your digital transformation strategy, and the AI culture is a big part of it. Many organizations, are pouring millions into AI tools, but forgetting the one thing that makes it work, which is people. Everywhere today is about AI. Every organization, AI, more AI. Please give us some more AI. We need AI. Hello, can you give us some AI? All of these talks, but what about the people? It's not just about the tools, because you cannot build an AI-powered business on top of fear-based and rigid or outdated culture. People that are still so afraid of technology, and they don't want to interact with these tools. They think, oh, this is something for the IT department. If that is not challenged, if that is not solved, no amount of technology will make it successful as a business. And so AI culture is not a technology initiative, no, it's a mindset. The one that redefines how people think about AI, how people work, and how people lead in an age of intelligent machines. If I were to ask you, what comes to mind when you think of artificial intelligence, what would you say? Anybody can answer. What comes to mind when you hear the word artificial intelligence? Hello? Are we still here? What comes to mind when you hear the word artificial intelligence? Anybody can answer. Intelligence, great. What else? The future of decisions. Purchasing decision. What else? Efficiency, great. Hello? Terminator, I love that. I love that. Anything else? What comes to mind? Risk? Opportunities. Excellent. Anyone, the people on this side, did you have coffee this morning? Yes, let's try. What comes to mind when you hear the word artificial intelligence? Domination, great. Taking over, great. I love that. You know, these are well-balanced answers. And the reason is I ask is because your perception of AI affects your relationship with AI. How do you think about it? If you think about it as something that is here to destroy humanity, like someone answered Terminator. I actually have a slide on the Terminator model of AI, so we'll get there, right? So if you think about it as the Terminators, this is something that is against humanity. It's coming to kill us. It's coming to take over from us. And so AI becomes an enemy. And nobody wants to have a relationship with an enemy, right? Before you know, you sabotage your own self. Something that you could have partnered with. We're talking about collaboration as well, and we will get there. But collaboration is no longer going to be just collaboration with your colleagues. It's also going to be collaborations with machines, collaborations with softwares, collaborations with AI tools. So if you have a negative perception of artificial intelligence, it is going to impact how you relate with it. There are other people that don't want to use it because they think it makes them lazy. It doesn't. Did anyone walk into this venue from your destination? Some drove, right? People drove here, right? You could have walked. Why you didn't walk? Because that's the argument around artificial intelligence. Oh, she walked. That's the argument. Oh, it makes people lazy. Yet, you send emails. You don't have to send an email. Go to your colleague's house, knock at the door and say, hello. You know, we're having a meeting on Monday. Yeah, if we are going to deny artificial intelligence based on it making people lazy, might as well deny all technology. You know, don't call anybody, just go to their house, you know, and deliver the message in person. Don't text anyone, just go to their house and deliver the message in person. So if you can drive here and you will drive back to your destination because it makes it more efficient and easy and faster, you can also use artificial intelligence to make your work more efficient, easy, and faster. But I think I got ahead of myself on that one because there's a slide for that. And so, digital transformation starts with people, not technology, all right? A successful digital enterprise isn't a technological enterprise, but a confederation of inspired people that are empowered by technology. When the people are empowered by technology, then that is the kind of collaboration that will move an organization forward. America being the richest country in the world, but they build their houses on wood. You ever thought about that? This video came as a result of the fire in LA that happened early this year. Anyone aware of that? Yeah. Yes, so he was comparing us, the building that survived the fire was the building that was built with concrete. So Americans, as a culture, believe that for it to be a house, it has to be made of wood. And so cultural inertia is not just in relation to that, it's also in organizations, especially for a company that has been in the market for 90 years. There are certain things that has been passed down from generation to generation to generation that if you're not careful, you continue passing these things down without questioning these things. Why do we have to continue to build our homes with wood? What is the wood that Alex Forbes needs to get rid of? That is the question, you know, for leadership to think about. Otherwise, you start suffering from cultural inertia, which is a reluctance to adapt to changing environmental conditions. Things are changing, but hey, this is how we've always done it, you know? So he spoke about the path dependence feedback loop, which again is about passing these traditions down without questioning and without disrupting your own self. So organizations, they need to disrupt themselves. And Deepak Chopra said, every time you are tempted to react in the same old way, ask if you want to be a prisoner of the past or a pioneer of the future. This is a critical question for every leader and every individual to ask. Are you the prisoner of the past or a pioneer of the future? Because every disruption forces a choice. You either evolved or you stay behind. Pioneers, they embrace change, they take a risk, they explore new ways of doing things, new ways of working, new ways of doing business. That is what pioneers, they do. But prisoners, they cling to the comfort zone. There's no need to change. But that is dangerous, and there is a cost to maintaining this cultural inertia, right? I had this image here that I thought was interesting and funny, where the board, assuming is the board, sitting and saying, what if we don't change at all? And something magical just happens. But well, the only magical thing that will likely happen is that your profits will go down, your market share will go down, your sales will go down, and who knows, your organization might be kicked out of the market. That's the only likely thing that will happen if you don't do anything. And so tradition becomes dangerous when it relies only on what has always worked and resists evolution. So while you're debating, should we change, should we not change, customers are moving on. They're finding who can give us the convenience that we want. We don't want to stand on queues. Can we do things online? Customers today or clients today, they don't want to wait days for answers or solutions. They want to touch a button and have an answer now. The other food is taking 10 minutes to arrive and you're already calling the Uber delivery. Like, how far are you? What's taking so long? We want things now. And when you don't adjust, and this is what happens when you resist change or when you don't want to evolve, you start melting. I'm melting, I'm melting. And then I saw this image, I thought it was interesting. It's better to have swallowed so much change that it even shows on your tummy. I'm looking to see if there are any people with big tummies in the house. So when you see someone with that big tummy, you just have to understand they have swallowed a lot of change, which is a good thing, right? It's better to have that than to stay stuck in the past. And digital leadership is critical. If we can look here, we can see what it entails. You have to be a future seeker, business shaper, customer champion, ecosystem builder, organization transformer, and all of these things. This is what makes you a digital leader. You cannot afford to be analog in this age and time. You rise as the times are changing. You evolve as the times are changing. Otherwise, you will be left behind. Because the most innovative employees cannot fully function under a leadership that is analog, that is stuck in the past. Am I right? Because they bring processes and ideas, because the mindset of the leadership or the legacy mindset within the organization this is how it's always been done. Innovation gets killed and gets stifled because of analog type of leadership. So a digital leader needs to have mental agility, rapid adaptivity, learning agility, digital literacy, customer focus, collaborative as well, data-driven. These are critical aspects of digital leadership. If you ignore them, you cannot move forward or be successful as a leader. You have to anticipate change, anticipate what is happening in your industry and how is it impacting the organization, and bring your people along. If you can see, I highlighted the newness, insert newness into trivial areas of business or routine. Sometimes change doesn't have to be this big drastic thing that has to be done. Introduce it slowly, small by small. We all know the power of compound interest. It compounds over time. When it is introduced slowly, people get used to it. They don't even feel like something is shifting. It's almost like the frog in the hot water narrative, where it's put in hot water and it's getting hot slowly, 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 and before they know it, it's like it's getting hot in here, and then it jumps out. So when you as a leader introduce newness into trivial areas of business, it is the easiest way for people to adapt to the transformation and the disruption that is happening. Here's another quick video here. You don't really need the sound for this, but she nailed it. A blind cannot lead the blind, right? So, when we talk of upskilling or reskilling, sometimes it feels like it's something that only the people on the ground need to reskill or upskill themselves. But leadership also needs to upskill. Leadership also needs to understand what is happening in the tech industry. Leadership also needs to understand how does technology impact our industry and our people. Instead of sitting back and say, oh, I'm the leader, I'm the CEO, I'm the executive, I'm this, or the people on the ground, you go and upskill yourself. No. This disruption, again, like I'm saying, it is disrupting leadership in itself. So if you sit back, we may end up with a scenario like this, where you're trying to help someone who doesn't know, but you're making things actually worse. So leadership play a crucial role in setting the tone for digital transformation in an organization. And one of my favorite quotes is from Arvin Toffler, and he said, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. This means that illiteracy is being redefined. If you don't have an ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn, you are considered the illiterate of the 21st century. And learning is easy. The big part is in the unlearning. Because when we talk about learning, it's easy for people to sign up for courses. Oh, I'm going back to school. I'm going to further my education. I remember sometime when somebody told me, Nicky, you are so smart. Why don't you further your education? I was like, but you just said I'm smart, right? I don't know if you got the joke. So anyway, when we talk about learning, people are like, okay, I'm going to sign up for this degree. I'm going to sign up for this course. So that part is easy. But how about you don't sign up for anything? How about you just unlearn some of the things that are not taking you forward as an individual and as a business? How about you let go of processes and mindsets and strategies that might have served you in the past but are no longer serving you? How about you don't sign up for any course at all? Just unlearn. Make room for the new knowledge to come in, because if you are not unlearning, there is also a possibility that there is no room for new knowledge to come in. And Henry Ford said, anyone who stops learning is outdated, whether at 20 or at 80. The kid on the pencil is intentional why I put this, because you need to write processes and your strategies on a pencil so that if it's no longer working, you can erase it. Don't use cement that you can't change. You're like, oh, we can't change this now. We are too committed. We can't go back. No. Write it on a pencil. When it's no longer applied, you cancel. And in the age of information, ignorance is a choice. Ignorance can no longer be defended. There's so much knowledge at our tips, at our fingertips. And Benjamin Franklin said, we are all born ignorant, but it takes a great deal of hard work to remain stupid. With so much knowledge at our fingertips, what reason can someone give for being stupid in this age and time? So much knowledge that used to sit in ivory towers, and you can have access to it at the click of a button, and yet you still don't know certain things. There are free courses from some of the top universities in the world, like MIT, and all of these universities, that you can access some of their courses on YouTube, and you still say you don't know. Ignorance cannot be defended anymore. Confront complacency. Again, you see, don't be this guy, all right? Don't be this person. I have worked in this company for 15 years, for 20 years, for 30 years, and I have never made a mistake. That's not something to brag about. Show me someone who has never made a mistake, and I will show you someone who is not growing. Show me someone who has never made a mistake, I will show you someone who is not evolving. So when you get to that point where you feel like you have arrived, you're good, I'm fine, that is complacency, and complacency is the silent killer of progress. So you need to confront it before it becomes your downfall. Ask yourself, in the last 6 months, what new thing have you learned, or what thing have you made a mistake in, or what have you failed in? Because failing shows that you are trying something new. I remember listening to the CEO of Accenture, and she said, one of the things that they do in their organization when they are recruiting a new talent is that they ask them a question, what have you learned in the past 6 months? It doesn't matter if they learn to cook a new recipe. It doesn't matter if they learn to dance. It doesn't matter what they learn. It doesn't have to be in relation to their profession. If the person answers and said, I haven't really learned anything in the past 6 months, they don't proceed with that candidate, no matter how good on paper they are. Because they are looking for people that are hungry for more. They're looking for people that are hungry for things. And that is a culture that has run across all of their offices globally. No one is just that good on paper. Be able to show us, I tried this a few months ago, or I tried this last year, or I was learning this. And they will be like, okay, this is someone who is curious. And this person can fit very well with our culture or with our team. So complacency breeds a false sense of security. And complacency, the worst part of it is that it believes that past success will ensure future stability. It doesn't. Because it brought you here, there is no guarantee that it will take you into the future. So look for innovation clues outside of your industry. Because in this age and time, everyone is eating everyone's lunch. We know of Apple, which should be for iPhones and MacBooks. But Apple today is also becoming a financial industry. Am I right? Samsung, we know it for home appliances and cell phones, but it's also becoming some sort of a fashion accessory. Samsung can just take anything today and slap smart on it. Smart jackets, smart shoes, smart sneakers, anything. They are transitioning as well into fashion. Uber, we knew it as a ride-hailing services, but today they are in delivery as well, not just food delivery. There are things, parcels that I've sent somewhere that I had to use Uber. That is the disruption that is happening in businesses. So as a business, you start thinking, okay, what new services can we launch before someone launches it on our behalf? Or before someone launches it and take away our customers? What new line of services can we add? What new line of products can we add? Because these are companies that are already doing it. I spoke of collaboration earlier. And the collaboration has to happen not just within your team, but across departments. Adopt a cross-functional mindset. Because if marketing stands alone, finance stands alone, product development stands alone, customer service stands alone, you're not talking to each other, there is no way an organization can survive in this age and time with silos being. Because one of the things that digital transformation is doing is that it is breaking down these silos. So open your mind up, so that if someone is in marketing, they at least have an idea what is going on in sales or what's going on in finance. Have that open mindset, because data is flowing through all of these different departments. And if they are functioning as standalone, almost like entirely a different business on its own, there is no way that you can have the right data to make decisions, because these departments are not talking to each other. And also, the time for you functioning based entirely on your job description is over. If we are going to talk about collaboration, we are going to talk about the fluidity that is happening due to digital transformation, whereby, okay, this is what your organization said your job description was, but now it requires you to cross over and do something else, and you're like, no, that's not my job description. You're not fluid enough, and you're doing yourself a disservice, because collaboration requires these cross-departmental integration for things to actually function and work in the business. New business models thrive on collaboration. In today's world, no one succeeds alone. As an individual, if your mindset is only based on your job description, and in fact, the disruption that is coming, job descriptions will not be a thing, right? So the future belongs to those who build bridges, not walls. If you build a wall, okay, I belong to marketing, I don't want to hear anything outside of this. This is my job description, I don't want to do anything outside of this. You are not growing as a person. So be open to collaborate. And the most resilient and innovative organizations are those that break down these silos. It starts with the mindset, it starts with the leadership, and it goes all the way down to the people. You need to adapt to change. If you look at the chameleon, we know what a chameleon is, right? I don't mean that chameleon. You know those people that are chameleons? Those ones you can't trust. No, we're talking about an actual animal that changes its skin color or skin tone based on the environment in which it is. If the environment is becoming pink, it becomes pink. If the environment is becoming blue, it becomes blue. It doesn't sit there and start arguing, but no, I love blue. Why do I need to do pink now? That argument doesn't, it simply adapts to what is happening around it. And Charles Darwin said, it is not the strongest species that survives, nor the most intelligent. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. Are there intelligent people in the house? Yes. Now nobody wants to identify as intelligent, right? So it says it is not the strongest species that will survive. So it therefore means that there comes a time, and that time is now, where your intelligence will not save you. Let that sink in. How adaptable are you? How fast can you change your color? Intelligence alone is not enough in this ancient time. And Kakuza said, the act of life is a constant readjustment to your surroundings. Are you constantly adjusting to your surroundings? Or your mindset is stuck in the past? And adaptability beats experience. Again, there are those that I have worked here for 20 years, I've worked here for 30, I've worked here for 10 years. Do you know how much experience I have? Well, we do. Experience says this is how things have always been done. But adaptability says you need to shift strategies, embrace new things, so that you can stay relevant. There was a time where experience was the distinguishing factor between who gets the job and who doesn't. But that time is fading out. Today, you bring adaptability, not just experience. People need to know how adaptable and how fast you can adapt to the environment and to the change that is happening in the marketplace. I was listening to someone talking about flying, with the air crash that happened recently, and a lot of people are scared of flying now. And he said when he's flying and he sees the pilot with some gray hair, he kind of relaxes, like, okay, I think, whew, yeah, I think I'm in good hands, right? We need some gray hair to feel safe in certain environments. And when I spoke with Bochi, when we had the briefing call, and she said something quite similar. She said, when people want to make serious financial decisions, they also want to see people with gray hair. So gray hair has its place. It is necessary, right? But if that's all you're bringing to the table, I have some bad news for you. Adaptability beats experience. You have to be willing to unlearn. Wisdom teaches that we should be able to unlearn, because yesterday's solutions won't solve tomorrow's problems. Experience is based on the past, and the past doesn't always work in the future. So for those who are bragging about their 20 years experience, well, it will be much more valuable if it was, I have experience into 2030, experience into 2035, 2040. Anyone with experience 5 years from now? Oh, no one. Well, you see, that's my point. So adaptability is more important because we don't know exactly what the world is going to throw at us. We don't know what the market shifts are going to happen just this week. We don't know what market shifts are going to happen in the next week, in the next month, in the next year. That is why adaptability is critical. Because when disruption happens, we are not just looking for people with certifications and people with experience. Leaders need to be able to shift just that fast and prevent the organization from sinking, so to say. And so adaptability is a new return on investment. That may be a big, bold move to make, but John F. Kennedy said, the best time to repair the roof is when the sun is shining. It ties to what I said earlier. If it ain't broken, don't fix it. It's about fixing it before it gets broken. Don't wait for the storm, then you climb on the roof to fix it. Just picture that. It's pouring cats and dogs and you're on the roof. It doesn't work like that. So fix it while the sun is shining. Deepak Chopra said, every time you are tempted to react in the same while things are going well, if you want to be fix it before the market shifts too fast. Or a pioneer of the future. And organizations that proactively upskill, embrace technology, and reimagine how they work while they're still winning, they are the ones that stay ahead. When you shift things while you are still winning, when Nokia was winning, 2 billion customers who can catch the cell phone king, that was the time for them to shift things, but they didn't. They stayed complacent. They said, no, we're good, we're fine. We have way too many clients to worry about being kicked out of the market. So the mind is where the revolution begins. We can talk about everything else. If no shift happens in the mind, there will be no real change. Because the mindset that worked in a pre-AI world, it cannot work in the world in which you're having now. And so the big transformation that can happen is not just digital transformation, but a mindset transformation as well. How do you think about what is happening in the world today? How do you think about AI? How do you think about collaboration? The mindset transformation is necessary. How do you think about silos? How do you think about growth? How do you think about restructuring and everything else that might be happening to an organization? How you think about it determines how you will succeed or survive the change that an organization brings. And again, talking about mindset, they are the people with a wheelbarrow mindset. We all know what a wheelbarrow is, right? If you push a wheelbarrow and leave it here, you come tomorrow and you find it exactly where you left it. There are people like that. They don't take initiative on their own. They don't try to evolve by themselves. You have to push them, right? And I'm not saying don't give people a helping hand, but there's just so much you can do to someone. At some point, they'll have to carry their own weight. So with all that is happening, AI is not waiting for slow learners or late adopters. Again, there are those that when the new technology in the market, they sit back. Let's sit back and let's see what this organization is going to try. If it works, okay, then we can jump in. But waiting could become fatal. You could be too late by the time they adopt the technology and you feel like, oh, maybe it's time for us to jump in now. Because in this age and time, there's a possibility of a winner takes it all and you are left with nothing. So adjust with time. Adjust as the times are changing. Don't wait for your boss or organization to develop you. Develop yourself. Because the AI revolution demands not just your attention, but your active participation. And there are those people that keep saying, I'm not a tech person. Well, we all are. If you have a smartphone, anyone with a smartphone in the house, you are a tech person. Saying I'm not a tech person is like saying I'm not a learning person. No one is born a tech person. Is there anyone in the room that the doctors looked at you when you were born and you were like, okay, this one looks like a finance lady. They slapped that label at you in the hospital, you know? We all learn. We all learn. No one looked at you in the hospital and be like, this looks like a marketing guy. No, we are all learning. So don't say I'm not a tech person. We all are learning, and the time to learn is now. I spoke on upskilling earlier, and I remember this quote where the CFO asked the CEO, what happens if we invest in developing our people and then they leave us? Smart CEO, by the way. He responded and said, what happens if we don't and they stay? Ouch. Right. And so Richard Branson said, train people well enough so that they can leave, treat them well enough so that they don't want to. That's what solves that problem. Instead of worrying about investing in them and they leave, treat them like human beings. Show them they are valuable. You know, when you talk of upskilling, it is the process of learning new skills for the same job. But reskilling is an entirely different process where you're training or learning for an entirely different role or job. It's a complete shift in your career. And emotional intelligence is critical in this age and time because change is hard. Change is difficult, and we need emotional intelligence. You can't talk about all of these intelligence without talking about emotional intelligence to be able to survive this. Statistics shows that up to 75% of people who voluntarily leave their jobs do so because of a difficult boss. Some people hate Monday, not because they hate their jobs. They're just thinking, I'm going to go in that office again and have to deal with this person, might be a boss or a colleague. People quit people, not really jobs. Of course, there are those that really hate their jobs, okay? That happens as well. But this is a staggering number of people that quit their jobs because of an individual. So it requires emotional intelligence to be able to manage these changes and even be able to work better in an organization. The Industrial Revolution required strong workers. You had to be strong, you know? The information age required knowledgeable workers. And the future work requires people that are emotionally intelligent, because we're dealing with machines. When you come in contact with a person, you should be able to feel that. And emotional intelligence is the measure of your ability to recognize and manage your emotions as well as the emotions of other people. For most people, they're like, okay, I can manage my own emotions, but why am I responsible for her emotions? Well, that's emotional intelligence. It requires you not just to manage your emotions, but the emotions of someone else. If someone comes to you in a very aggressive way, how do you respond that? You fight fire with fire, or you use emotional intelligence to de-escalate something from going out of control? That is the importance of emotional intelligence. Emotions can start war, they can start love, and they can also bring divorce. That's how strong emotions ends up being. So be a human being. What makes you great is not just your intelligence or your academic excellence or your mental superiority, it's your ability. How do you relate with other human beings? This is critical. Don't be a robot that people cannot relate to, people cannot warm up to. A person whose face every day is 6 a.m., you don't know if they're smiling or if they're sad, they're happy, you can't read them. Don't be that person. Be an absolute human being. And there are a few videos here, it looks like we're out of time, but there are a few videos here that I wanted us to see relating to the rise of AI scams, especially for a financial institution like this. I feel like this is something that we need to be aware of.